Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. So in this video, we will discuss the Seru questions and answers, and this is the part 2. In the previous video, we discussed 30 fill in the blanks questions about the Seru assessment. And in this video, we will discuss 30 more questions. So let's get started. The first one is to work as a London PHV driver, you will need to be licensed by TFL only. Then can you carry out bookings for a London private hire operator that is also licensed by TFL. Now, as I mentioned previously in the previous part, you need to make sure that the correct options are put into their blanks, but also that the incorrect options are put into this red box right here. If you don't put the incorrect options in the red box, your answer is still wrong. So as you can see, we use work rather than working, bookings rather than booking, and private, which apparently there is a mistake and both of the options are the same. The next question is, you must make details of the insurance available to the police when you are asked for them. You must also provide insurance details to a passenger or member of the public if the vehicle you're driving is involved in a collision. Now here we use available rather than availability, member rather than members, and collision rather than collisions. The next one is, as a London PHV driver, you can only carry out bookings that you have received from a licensed London PHV operator. Here we use carry rather than carried, we use bookings rather than booking, and we use London with the capital L, which is correct. Next question is, you as the driver are responsible for parking your vehicle, the noise it makes, and for your own behavior. Now here we use responsible rather than responsibility, we use vehicle with the smaller v, and we use behavior rather than behave. Next question is, do not behave in an antisocial manner, do not leave litter in the street or road, do not go to the toilet in a public place, and do not leave your engine running. Now here we use litter rather than letter, we use toilet with a smaller t, and we use running rather than run. As I mentioned in the previous part, in order to be able to answer all of these questions correctly, you must read the whole PHV handbook thoroughly. You must understand what it is saying, and you must also remember what type of wording is used. Next question is, TFL expects all licensed drivers to offer Londoners and visitors a professional and safe service. Providing excellent customer service is an important part of being a London PHV driver. Now here we use drivers rather than driver because it is referring to all PHV drivers. We use excellent rather than excellence, and we use important rather than importance. Next question is, it is also important that all licensed PHV drivers provide a professional service to their passengers. TFL expects drivers to offer a high level of customer service, use clean and well-maintained licensed vehicles, and to fully obey the laws of the road. Use clean and well-maintained licensed vehicles and to fully obey the laws of the road. Now here we use provide rather than provides, we use service rather than services, and vehicles rather than vehicles. Next question is, although your operator will normally deal with complaints, passengers might contact the police or TFL directly. So if your passenger has a complaint, he will normally contact your operator, but he might contact the police or TFL if he has a bigger issue. Next question is, as a PHV driver, you offer an extremely important service to the traveling public. You have a responsibility to make sure your passengers feel safe when they travel in your vehicle. So here we use extremely rather than extreme, traveling rather than travel, and responsibility rather than responsible. Next question is, it is important to record and report incidents that almost happened as well as ones that actually did happen. Here we use important rather than importance, we use incidents rather than incident with an S, and we use actually rather than actual. The next question is, if the passenger is unconscious, extremely unwell, or seems to be injured or in an emergency situation and there is no one else to help them, call the emergency services. So here we use extremely rather than extreme, we use emergency rather than emergence, and we use services rather than service. Next question is, you should never use a passenger's personal contact details to start communicating with them about anything other than the booked journey. This is important instruction for the drivers. You should not get personal or anything like that with the passengers. You are there to just serve as a driver, and that's your job, so you should mind your own business. Now here we use details rather than detail. we use communicating rather than communication, and we use journey, which is once again a mistake because both the spellings are correct. Usually with these options, one spelling is wrong and one is correct, so you choose the correct one. Next question is, you should never make comments or jokes about someone's age, race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Now here we use comments rather than comment, we use disability rather than disable, and we use identity rather than identification. Now the next one is, taxi ranks can only be used by licensed London taxis, black cabs, not by PHVs. PHVs should not park or wait on working taxi ranks at any time, nor pick up or drop off passengers on a taxi rank. So here we use ranks with a smaller r, we use working rather than work, and we use passengers with an s rather than passenger. Next question is, electric taxi charging points can only be used for charging electric taxis. They cannot be used for charging PHVs. Here we use electric with a capital E because it is the start of the sentence. We use points rather than point, and we use cannot rather than can because in the PHV driver's handbook it is stated that they cannot be used for charging PHVs. Next one is, drive at a speed within the speed limit and one that is appropriate for the situation, environment, and weather condition. So here we use appropriate rather than appreciate, environment rather than environments, and conditions rather than condition. Next question is, the faster you drive, the less time you have to do something to avoid a collision. The resulting injuries also become more serious as speed increases. So here we use collision rather than collisions, we use resulting injuries rather than injury, and we use increases rather than increased. Next question is, pay careful attention to cyclists and motorcyclists who are able to use bus lanes and to pedestrians and bus passengers that may be getting off the bus and crossing the road. So here we use motorcyclists, the plural one and not the singular one. We use pedestrians, once again plural, not singular. And at the end we use crossing rather than crossing with a capital C. Next question is, think about the maneuvers you make and make sure they are safe. This includes things like looking carefully when pulling out of junctions, turning across traffic, or passing cyclists or motorcyclists. Now here we use maneuvers with the correct spelling and with the S. We use motorcyclists rather than motorcyclist, and we use carefully rather than careful. With the maneuvers, just keep in mind the spellings because these spellings are quite unusual, so try to remember the spellings correctly. Next question is, you must not stop at bus stop clearways marked with a wide yellow line by the curb. On red routes, you cannot stop at bus stops marked with a wide red line by the curb. Now here we use clearways rather than clearway. We use cannot rather than can, and we use marked rather than mark, which is a name because it has a capital M. Next question is, TFL is committed to improving transport in London by making it more accessible, safer, and reliable for all. So here we use improving rather than improve, making rather than make, and accessible rather than access. Next question is, other than in an emergency, you must not get into the back seat of your vehicle while you have passengers on board. So here we use emergency rather than emergencies, we use passengers rather than passenger, and we use vehicle rather than vehicles. Next question is, public transport plays an important role in opening up opportunities by providing access to education, employment, and other essential services. So here we use opportunities, that is plural one, we use access rather than accessible, and we use employment rather than employee. Next question is, PHV drivers need to keep a careful watch on the roads at all times and be able to interact safely with all other road users, especially those who are more vulnerable such as pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists. So here we use watch rather than watching, we use interact rather than interaction, and we use users rather than user. Next question is, as a PHV driver, you are expected to be fully aware of and to obey the rules of the road as explained in the highway code. So here we use expected rather than expect, we use obey rather than obeyed, and we use highway with a capital H because the highway code is a proper noun. Next question is, criminal exploitation is also known as county lines. This is when gangs and organized crime groups use children and young adults to sell drugs. Now here we use exploitation rather than exploit, we use county rather than country, and lastly we use groups rather than group. Next question is, it is possible that ride sharing might happen if, for example, two people have a similar route to and from work and travel at similar times. Now here we use possible rather than possibility, we use travel with a smaller t, and we use similar rather than similarity. Now the last question for today is, no type of sexual behavior between you and a passenger is ever acceptable, even if both of you agree to it. So here we use behavior rather than behave, we use acceptable rather than accepted, and we use agree rather than agreed. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment down below and I'll try my best to answer you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe for more. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.